First of all, I want to thank you for joining us in this online chapel service at the family of Randall University. This is Dr. Thomas Marberry speaking. And I want to note this morning a very beautiful passage of scripture that I think is appropriate for this occasion. And it is found in Philippians chapter 4, beginning in verse 10, and then we're going to read down through verse 16. So beginning in Philippians 4:10. But I rejoiced in the Lord greatly that now at last your care of me hath flourished again, wherein ye were also careful, but you lacked opportunity. Not that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am therewith to be content. I know both how to be abased, and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I am instructed, both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me. Notwithstanding ye have well done, that ye did communicate with my affliction. Now ye Philippians know also that in the beginning of the gospel, when I departed from Macedonia, no church communicated with me as concerning giving and receiving, but ye only. For even in Thessalonica you sent once and again unto my necessity. These are difficult days. According to the morning paper, we have had a total of 44,183 cases of the coronavirus with 544 deaths. I have heard some different numbers on the television, but those were the numbers from the paper this morning. In Oklahoma, we have had 106 cases and 3 deaths. As we look around us, we see that businesses are closed, people are off work. The mayor of the city of Norman has recently ordered people to stay at home except for essential activities. I know in my lifetime, we have never experienced anything like this, but we will make it through this. We have been through difficult times before, and we will be through more difficult times in the future. In Philippians chapter 4, the Apostle Paul was in difficult circumstances. He was in prison, probably in Rome. It was the early 60s of the first century. This time period is commonly known in New Testament scholarship as the time of Paul's first Roman imprisonment. The church in Philippi was a considerable distance away, but that church had developed a very close relationship with the Apostle Paul, and they had sent him an offering to help make his conditions in the Roman prison better. Now, we're not sure exactly what they sent to him. The book does not say. It could have been food, it could have been money, could have been clothing. We don't know exactly. But certainly the Philippians sent to him their love and their prayers. And the Philippian letter is Paul's thank you note. And what I want to notice in particular this morning is that the Apostle Paul, by his own example, as reflected here in Philippians, gives us some very important lessons about how we can handle the difficult times that come our way in life. Times like the times that we are going through right now. And I want to notice 4 particular points that can help us as believers to handle difficult times. First of all, we need to realize that we as Christians will go through difficult times. We are not exempt from them. I know there are some people who think that because we are Christians, God ought to protect us and exempt us from all of the trials and difficulties of life. Well, that is certainly a very attractive way of thinking, but it is not correct. The fact of the matter is there is nothing in the Christian faith that exempts us from any of the trials and temptations that come to people in this life. As a matter of fact, sometimes we will face additional trials and difficulties because we are believers. And I think it's important for us to realize that difficult times are not a punishment. They are not a punishment sent upon us by God. They are simply a part of life. And that Christians, along with other people, are going through difficult times. And when these times strike us, we should not view them as being bad or being unjust or that God is punishing us. And I think the second great lesson that we can learn is that in difficult times, God is always with us. He does not abandon us. He did not abandon the Apostle Paul during his imprisonment in Rome, and neither will he abandon us in our times of trial and difficulty. The fact of the matter is that God goes through those difficult and trying times with us. And the thing that we as believers need to do is to allow the Lord to be with us, allow the Lord to minister to us in difficult days. Unfortunately, too many believers make the sad mistake of turning their back on God when difficult times come their way. They quit praying, they quit going to church, they quit reading their Bibles. And when they do that, they deny themselves the very resources that they need to make it through those difficult times. When difficult times come our way in life, God remains faithful to us, and we need to remain faithful to Him. And the third lesson that I think we can learn from this beautiful passage this morning is this: not only is God with us, but God's people are also with us. We find here in this passage of Scripture that the church at Philippi cared so much about the Apostle Paul and his ministry that they did what they could to help relieve his suffering during this time of his Roman imprisonment. It is important that Christians stand together when times of trial and difficulty come our way. It is very important that we support one another, that we be with one another, and that we stay in contact with one another. During this epidemic of the coronavirus, a lot of churches are not able to have their traditional worship services. But this is a time when we as Christians need to stay in contact with one another by whatever means are possible. And we need to do what we can to help and encourage one another through these difficult times. And I wish to conclude with a fourth lesson that we can learn from this beautiful passage of Scripture. And that is, we need to realize that circumstances are not the most important things in life. I call your attention once again to Philippians 4:11. Not that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatever state I am, therewith to be content. We're all going to go through difficult times, and when we go through those difficult times, we must learn to be content with what we have. That we don't have to have everything. We don't have to have all of the luxuries that we may be accustomed to. We don't have to have all of the opportunities and all of the places to go that we may have become accustomed to. We do not have to have everything that the world tells us is essential. The fact of the matter is, most of us can get by on a lot less than we are used to having if we have to. And sometimes when difficult times come our way, we have to learn to get by with less. And if we have to learn to get by with less, let's learn to get by with less. And do not become bitter. Do not blame others. Do not blame God. But simply take what we have and make the best of it. Certainly it is not ideal that we here at Randall are not able to meet our regular classes and we're having to teach classes online at this time. Certainly that is not an ideal situation. But what we need to do is just to make the best of the situation and do the best we can with the circumstances that have been given to us. May God bless you richly, and thank you for being a part of the Randall University family.